Hey, ever feel like keeping up with cybersecurity is like trying to catch a moving train? Just when you think you're on top of things, boom, there's a new law or regulation you need to know about. Well, you're not alone. In 2024, several new cybersecurity laws are coming into play, and they could impact the way you surf the web, secure your devices, or even run your business. Stick around because you'll want to be in the know. This is Cyber Made Simple. Let's dive right in. So, what's the big deal with new cybersecurity laws in 2024? Well, as cyber threats evolve, governments around the world are stepping up their game to help protect us. Yes, even the non-techie among us, from these online dangers. Whether you're in the US, Europe, or somewhere else, these regulations could mean some big changes for you. Let's break it down. First up, the European Union's NIS2 Directive. If you're living or running a business in the EU, you've probably heard about this one. The NIS2 Directive is an update to the original Network and Information Systems (NIS) Directive. The new law is designed to beef up cybersecurity across critical sectors like energy, transport, health, and finance. Now, companies in these industries will need to meet stricter security standards and report incidents within tighter deadlines. And here's where it gets interesting. NIS2 extends its scope to more organizations, including medium-sized businesses. If you're running a business with over 50 employees in these sectors, you'll need to comply. Not doing so could mean heavy fines. You might be thinking, I'm not in the EU, so why should I care? Well, if your company does business in the EU, or even stores customer data from EU citizens, this law could still apply to you. Yep, the world is more connected than ever. Next, let's hop over to the United States, where there's a major update with the CIRCIA Act. That's the Cyber Incident Reporting for Critical Infrastructure Act. This one's pretty big for any business or organization involved in critical infrastructure. Think utilities, finance, healthcare, and more. Under CIRCIA, organizations are now required to report any significant cyber incidents to the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CSA, within 72 hours. That's a tight deadline. But here's the kicker. Even if you're just under threat or your system gets hacked but no data was stolen, you still have to report it. Why? Because the goal is to build a real-time picture of what threats are out there and how they're evolving. It's like cybersecurity crowdsourcing, but at a national level. And hey, if you're someone who gets nervous about reporting things, remember, it's better to be safe than sorry. Failing to report could lead to penalties or, worse, leave you more vulnerable to future attacks. Over to China now, where their data security law continues to evolve in 2024. China's been rolling out new rules around cybersecurity for a while, but in 2024, they're putting even more focus on how data is handled, especially if it involves foreign entities. If you do any business in China, the government will want to know how you're storing, processing, and transferring data, especially if it's crossing borders. The penalties for non-compliance? Let's just say they're not something you want to mess with. Businesses could face heavy fines, operational restrictions, or even be forced to shut down. If you're an entrepreneur or work in a company with any ties to China, you definitely want to pay attention to this one. The law is super detailed, but at its core, it's about maintaining data sovereignty. Now, speaking of sovereignty, here's a fun one to keep an eye on. Canada's Bill C-26. This legislation is part of Canada's effort to protect critical infrastructure from cyber threats, similar to what we've seen in the US and EU. What makes Bill C-26 stand out is its focus on telecommunications. It gives the Canadian government more authority to intervene in telecom companies' operations if they're not meeting cybersecurity standards. This could mean anything from improving how they protect user data to making sure their networks can handle cyber attacks without going down. And if you're sitting there thinking, I don't live in Canada, so this won't affect me, consider this. A lot of telecom infrastructure crosses borders. So if you're working with or using a Canadian telecom company, or even traveling there with your mobile phone, these laws could still play a role in your security. Let's wrap it up by looking at Australia, where things are also heating up. Australia has introduced the Critical Infrastructure Bill, which places stricter cybersecurity requirements on industries like energy, communications, and transport. It's pretty similar to the laws we're seeing in other parts of the world, but with an extra twist. Australia's government is now able to step in during a cyber crisis and help manage the response. This might sound like something out of a spy movie, but it's really about making sure the country can handle major cyber incidents without crumbling. Imagine the government jumping in to fix things after a massive hack, kind of like a cybersecurity superhero. But of course, it comes with its own concerns about privacy and government overreach. It's definitely one to watch, especially as other countries might follow suit. So what's the takeaway here? Governments across the world are tightening the reins on cybersecurity, and for good reason. Cyber attacks are more frequent and more dangerous than ever. And whether you're an individual, a small business, or part of a large corporation, these laws could have a direct impact on how you operate. But don't worry, staying compliant doesn't have to be a headache. The best thing you can do is stay informed, follow best practices like keeping your systems updated, and when in doubt, consult an expert. Before you go, I want to hear from you. What do you think about these new laws? Do you feel safer, or are you more concerned about privacy or government control? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's get the conversation going. And hey, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on important updates. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you next time on Cyber Made Simple.